Hey, it's me, TB, and today I'm bringing to you a book haul of all the books that I bought during the summer, as well as August and September a little bit. I'm pretty sure I have everything that I've ordered in as of right now, besides a few things which don't really matter for this haul because I'll get into that later. So as usual for my book hauls, I'll have it kind of split into two parts. One being more focused on things that I bought for myself for like fun stuff, and the other half on stuff that is for classes. They aren't like nonfiction related or anything, but they are like class books, like classics and stuff. So that's why I'm like splitting it into half, you know? So first, I will go ahead and get two books out of the way right now. I bought Firesong by Adam Garnett Jones. This is my book club's pick, the Queeralia Book Club, by the way, which will be linked down below so you can join us for that. This is our pick for November, I think. Basically, I'm pretty sure this was like made into a film and then the book novelization was written. I'm pretty sure the author is also like the guy that did the film, so it's like done by the same creator, so that's great. So basically this book is about our main character Caine, and his sister committed suicide, and he's kind of like still grappling with that, and he wants to kind of like find comfort in his friend David, but they have a relationship and they can't really like be open about that where they live, and Caine wants to find a better life outside of his reservation, but he can't do that, or like at least his plan is threatened, I guess, because David doesn't want to leave and his mother is not able to kind of like deal with the grieving process as well as you would hope, I guess. So yeah, this is the book I'll pick for November. That's gonna be great. And then we have Crossing Pashtim Sitovsi. And this I'm pretty sure is following people from our main character is fleeing from communist Albania along with his friend, and his friend is facing his own realizations about his gender and sexuality, and they decide to leave Albania to go to Italy, and it's kind of just focusing on them as I guess they're struggling to kind of like assimilate to Italy, as well as like the trauma that's going to come from like leaving a communist country during this time period. So it'll be great. I'm pretty sure this won like multiple awards, so that's pretty cool. And this is the book club pick for December. So now into the realm of stuff that I bought for myself. It's like not for a book club or anything. I have A Dance in Blood Velvet by Frida Warrington. Me and my friend Therese over at, I think Therese's Nook, because she recently changed her name, we kind of started this vampire series because we start so many fucking series. We have like literally I think like 10 or more books we need to read as like, because we want to like plan buddy reads. So it's like a lot. Basically, I remember the first book correctly, we are in like, I think post World War I Britain, I think. And our main character meets this, dark and dangerous man who's of course a vampire. And stuff ensues. It's basically a romance, but this book sounds like it's going to go in a very interesting direction, so that's been great. No idea when we're going to get to reading this, but I have it whenever Teresa's ready. And if I remember like the first book correctly, that book had like no plot. It was just like vibing in like the 1920s Britain, like vampires and like the spooky gothic shit that comes from that. So if you want a book with like no plot, just vibes for like 500 pages, this series is great for that because there's like no fucking plot. It's literally just them vibing, and it somehow works. It's very interesting to read about, with literally like just vibes for the whole book. And as you can see from like behind me right here, I guess, if you can see that, I think you should be able to see this. But I did buy basically the entire Pretty Little Liars series in hardcover because I don't know why. I've been wanting to reread the series, so I think, and the audiobooks are like Audible exclusives, and I don't want to give Amazon more money than I have to, so I just bought the books because they weren't like super expensive, so I decided to just get them now. I think there are like 20 books in the series. So of course, here is one. I think here is like 3 to 12, I think, mostly. Then I have the other books like right down here. And this is the part where I said I was missing some books that have not come in yet, because I'm missing books 2 and I think like book like 13 or 14. And after that, I should have the entire series in hardcover, which would be great. So I'm not gonna really give like a synopsis about the series because it had a long-running TV show for like 7 years. So you probably already know like the general gist of the idea. But basically, this girl goes missing, her friends worry about her, the girl is found dead, and her friends start getting notes about the secrets that their friend knew, and they're basically blackmailed into doing, questionable shit. So now on to books that I bought for myself, just see that are not Pretty Little Liars. Spoiler alert, most of these are classics I just noticed, so my bad, I'm very boring I guess. So most recently, I got The Power of Sympathy and The Coquette by William Hill Brown and Hannah Webster Foster. These are basically two early American classics from like the late 18th century, and I want to read more like American classics, so I got this. They're both fairly short because like this whole like bind up is literally like less than 200 pages, I think. So it's pretty like short. So yeah, it'd be great. And these books are both, The Power of Sympathy is about how America is preoccupied with the role of women as safekeepers of the country's morality, and it was meant to promote women's moral rectitude, and the letters through which the story is told are filled with advice on the proper relationships between the sexes. And The Coquette is also concerned with womanly virtue. So of course, early American literature is very focused on like morality because we are very conservative compared to Great Britain. So a lot of our literature is very like weirdly conservative at this time. So yeah, there you go. And coming from that, I also have George Washington Cable's The Grenady Psalms. And this is a book focused on Creole life in Louisiana during the 19th century. And it is about a story of two lovers from feuding Creole families in the early 19th century New Orleans. And it says, in contrast to the idealized romance in Cable's accurate and flattering portrait of Creole gentility and his arguments for racial equality, and this tension gives the story its compelling power and helps make it one of the richest novels in American literature. So that'd be great. This is also pretty short, so that's also fantastic. See, these are also Penguin classics, but they're like from the older editions, which suck because they don't match, but we'll get into that later. So I have the Heptameron by Marguerite de Navarre. This is inspired by Boccaccio's Decameron, which I have right here. Basically is a short story collection, and the stories are related by 5 men and 5 women for their amusement and edification after they have taken refuge from a series of disasters in an abbey. So it's just like short stories from I want to say this was written in the early 15th century, but I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So the author lived from 1492 to 1549, so it was probably published in, oh no, it says right here, the collection did not appear in print until 1558, so this is like mid-16th century literature, pretty much, and so I'm interested in seeing like how that plays out. I also have, I have no idea how to pronounce this, but it is Chrétien de Troyes, Arthurian Romances. I want to read more like medieval literature, like at least like medieval adjacent literature, so there's a lot of classics, as you have seen, focus very much on like the 19th century and slightly on the 18th century. So I want to kind of like dive in further from that. So these are new prose translations of his 5 romances, which are Eric and Enid, Cleges, then The Knight of the Cart, The Knight with the Lion, and The Story of the Grail. So that's great. Obviously these are like connected or inspired by the legends of King Arthur. And it says right here that he not only created a new genre, the courtly romance, but virtually invented Arthurian literature as we know it. So that's pretty cool. Then I have Myths from Mesopotamia, Creation, The Flood, Gilgamesh, and others. So basically this is just a collection of myths from Mesopotamia, as the cover says. So it covers everything stated above. And I've been needing like a physical copy of Gilgamesh, so that'd be great. I just hope the translation is like a good translation. So yeah, that'd be fun to read. So now we are moving into school stuff, I think. There's nothing left I haven't talked about just yet. So yeah, there is The Monk by Matthew Lewis. I had to read this for my Gothic literature class, but it came in after I already finished reading the book, so it basically useless to me, but I do want to reread this at some point. Basically, this is pitched as being about a monk falling into sin, but the monk is not like the main focus until like the halfway point, basically. So be ready for just sitting there being confused the whole time. And this is the first horror novel in English literature, so that's pretty cool. So we have like a few characters in this. Our first chapter is focused on the perspective of Antonia and her aunt, I think, as they are going into a church in Madrid where our monk Ambrosio is preaching. And while there, they meet this guy who I forget his name. Like literally no idea what his name is, but basically he's our Gothic hero, basically. So he's there, and they talk. Stuff happens, blah blah blah, and then our chapter from Ambrosio, which is where he finds out that his one of the monks under him is actually a girl in disguise, and the plot kind of takes off from there. So that's all I'll tell you. Just a fair warning that the first chapter is not about Ambrosio at all, really. It's more focused on Antonia, and her meeting that guy I talked about. We'll also say that the chapters in this are very fucking long, so be ready for long chapters because there are literally like 12 chapters in this book, and they're all very long, which suck to read. So hey, I am editing the video right now, and I wanted to kind of go back to his monk to kind of like explain more about the like plot, I guess, because I did a really like shit job of like doing that. So everything I said is like true, but most of the story is focused more on like characters around Ambrosio and how like his shitty behavior affects them. It does shift to being more focused on him around the halfway point, but still it feels like less focused on him than you would expect, given that he is like the title character, the monk, but he's just not really like a main focus. And the more like gothic elements, the like I guess supernatural elements, don't come in until like the 30 or 40% mark. So again, it's just like a long time just sitting there waiting for something to happen, because traditionally in like gothic novels you expect more like a more supernatural, like a dark oomph to this, but it doesn't happen until like quite a ways into it. And pretty much, if you ever read this or you want to read this, it's pretty much going to be a fairly normal novel up until the point where I think it's Sir Raymond tells a story and you get the story about the bleeding nun. I think that's when the supernatural elements start to kind of like charge in a little bit more. But up until then, it literally reads like every other classic, just people like chilling, talking. They're rich, of course, and stuff. So yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this because it was things in my backpack whenever I was doing the video. I also have Devils by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm reading this for a class, and I'm like, I think 200 pages in. It's okay. It's just very like drawn out, really. So yeah, that's a thing that's going on right now. Basically, it takes place in a province in Russia, and our main character, like our narrator, is a character in the story, which is like a very weird to like hear about because he isn't like involved in the plot, but he's like a character in the overall like narrative, I guess. It's really weird to read about. But it's following the two sons of these like prominent townsfolk as those sons come back to town, and one of them is trying to start a revolution. The other one is trying to like stop him, I think, or like at least like against his way of doing things. I have no idea yet because like we are 200 pages in and the plot hasn't like started yet. So that's a fun time, but not really. And the author was like kind of like a religious conservative person, which is why the revolution is being portrayed in a negative light, by the way. So yeah, obviously like it's not awful. I'm not like bored. It's just, I guess, tedious to read, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's that. I do want to read Crime and Punishment by this guy because I've heard great things about that. But so far this is like just okay, I guess, I think. And since officially like literally I think the day that I filmed that video, I think the rest of the Pretty Little Liars books came in. So I went ahead and show you the like last book just because. So it's like black and silver, which is very nice. And that sticker right there, for whatever reason, that is like part of the cover. No idea why, but it's just like part of the cover because I tried to take it off and it just did not budge. So that's cool, I guess. But yeah, it just like looks pretty. For whatever reason, it is like made out of a different material than the other covers, so it feels different. Like it matches when it's on the shelf, but it just feels different. So yeah, it is a little like beat up because it is older, but you can't really tell that. Oh, you can like right there on the like edge at the bottom. It's a little bit beat up, but still, it's fine for me. I paid less than $10 for hardcover, so I'm not gonna complain. So yeah, there's that. But I do think that is it for me. I have another like haul related video, but it's not really a haul. Well, it kind of is, but it's weird to explain. I will get to that whenever that video gets filmed one day. So yeah, there's that. So I'll let you go back to watching the video. When it comes to stuff I had to read for class already, there is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Yes, this is the ugly new Penguin Classics edition, where they don't have like the name in orange and the spine is all white, which looks very ugly compared to the other ones because like see there's orange right there, and like the little banner is smaller. Here it just looks ugly. And also, when I brought this to class for the first day, it rained and my backpack got wet. So this book is already fucked up a little bit. I was able to fix most of it, but it's still pretty rough and fucked up already. So that's great. Also, a Penguin Classics, I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. All I know is that the family goes into a house, it's spooky, and this book is like the Netflix series, but also not at all. Because I remember people were like viewing when the Netflix show was new and like not liking the book as much. I think this is like more like psychological, I think. So that'd be great. Like, see, look at this. It could look so good. Instead, it just looks bad. Because I guess they wanted all white, but it looks very tacky and ugly. So that was a bad idea for them. Then there is As They Lay Dying by William Faulkner. This is about a family that has to go and bury their mother, I think, or their wife and mother. And the family basically takes turns narrating what is going on and is told in stream of consciousness. So yeah, I have not read this yet. I hope to God it's good, but knowing stream of consciousness does not bode well for me, because I do not like that as a writing style. So great. Then there is Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is about a woman that after fleeing from slavery is still haunted by the trauma that happened to her while there, and in her new home she's haunted by the ghost of her child that died, and all there is to mark this child's existence is a tombstone with the name Beloved on it. So that's that. Then there is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Macchiato. And I don't know what this is like a memoir, kind of, I think, about our main character, or the narrator, who experienced trauma or abuse in a queer relationship, I think. Don't quote me on that. All I know about this is that it's also, everyone read this last year and loved it. So hopefully I like it too. I'm hoping. But again, the class is 4. I'm going to lower my expectations a little bit. So yeah. And then finally, there is The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielski. You want to know what this is about? A guy finds this weird text in his house and decides to make notes about it, and it's all confusing and fucked up. As you can see, it's all messy and fucked up, and I'm dreading reading this because it sounds it's a great concept, but do I trust someone to do this and do it well? No. So it's going to be very, very hard to do well. I don't trust publishing to do this in a great way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I already have a feeling this is going to be a case of great idea but bad execution. Maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? So that's all from me. Those are all the books that I bought within the last few months. They're great. I hope that is, because I don't remember anything else. So we're going to assume that I'm right. So yeah. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, like, share, all of that. And hopefully I will see you next week.